What I love about the gorge is the landscape is unlike any place else. Yet within this landscape are communities that really have forged their own identities.
For me, it was that incredible dripping wet forest and then true desert, and to have that all in one little national scenic area is pretty spectacular.
You're doing ordinary, everyday things, and you have this spectacular view. You're looking at Mount Hood and Mount Adams.
We're 40 minutes from an international airport, but you can come out and be in wilderness in a very short amount of time.
We are getting 30 to 40,000 people moving into the Portland metropolitan area every year. And certain areas of the gorge are feeling more impact than others. Essentially, 80% of the people who visit the gorge visit 20% of the places. And so we have to think about how do we flip that model? Because the gorge is not just the waterfall area.
The National Scenic Area is 2 states and 6 counties. So when you're trying to do something collectively, it's really challenging because it's all completely different jurisdictions.
And so that's really why we reached out to Travel Oregon, because we knew that they had the ability to help us see the bigger picture. And we knew if we could do it right, it was going to conserve lands, it was going to enhance recreation, and it was going to support the communities.
After our year of meetings, we realized we needed to have a formal entity that this would live on in, and we created the Columbia Gorge Tourism Alliance.
And so we've launched several programs that are really helping lay the future for gorge tourism. We're working on car-free transportation, visitor communication, and then finally, signature trail initiatives.
One of the challenges is teaching our visitors how to love our place.
So Ready, Set, Gorge is really about recreating safely and being a good steward when you're out recreating. We've developed a brochure that has been made available to businesses, to all of our agency partners. There's the Trail Ambassador program. There's nothing like contacting visitors right where they are starting to recreate.
We've been here for a couple of hours already and we've met almost 200 people.
Do you have any picnic food recommendations on the way?
There's people who come and they just heard Multnomah Falls was a place to stop at. Once they stop and talk to us for a few minutes and we start talking about the different communities, they're encouraged to travel further and linger longer.
Enjoy your trip.
As a visitor somewhere, I hate driving. And what we've learned is that if there is transit, they will use it. And that's what has been the experience with the Columbia Gorge Express.
You can now get on a bus from Portland and get to Cascade Lock and to Hood River without driving your own car. That is by far the most exciting thing. Maybe I'm too excited about this. And it connects our communities.
The major components of this car-free experience are trip planning itineraries, where you can learn what public transit you can use to get where you want to go, e-fare, so that it's just one click, you buy a ticket, and then also linking together all of the active transportation modes, like walking and biking, with the public transit. In a way that transportation becomes part of the joy of the experience.
One of the things that our whole process has been focused on is how do we turn this place into really a world-class destination?
So we launched a vision called Gorge Towns to Trails, and that's the idea to create a loop trail around the gorge that would be like a European trekking model from town to town.
The idea is that you wouldn't need a car and you could walk 250 miles and actually have a place to sleep at night and food to eat along the way and experience nature from a more visceral place. So it's just a matter of us being the stewards of this experience.
It's rare that you find a process that really creates lasting social change. In hindsight, I never would have thought that the Gorge Tourism Studio would help us in a time of disaster.
The Eagle Creek fire truly impacted every single person in the gorge.
Our identity is really all about the beauty of the gorge, and so that grief of watching that burn up was really hard for us to experience.
Many of us felt helpless. Well, what we found was the studio was a boot camp for this disaster that we faced, and the partners of the tourism studio mobilized in ways that we couldn't have imagined.
There was that trust that had been built.
We had a feeling that we could call the fire chief, we could call anybody, and it's an ally.
These different groups in our region came together to put together resources to help businesses like mine communicate the impacts of the fire and how to create a positive experience for our guests.
And I think as we deal with future challenges, with transportation, et cetera, that network is going to be important again and again.
We form a pretty strong team, and we're not alone. Even though we're this little tiny town, we're part of this larger group, and I think that's one of the things that will live on way beyond tourism, is we have each other's back.
When you bring that many people together, you start to see the region that you live in a really holistic way.
A place where we're protecting the natural and cultural resources, where our local economies are vibrant, and our visitors have rallied to the call of being good stewards in the gorge. That's my aspiration.
People have always been part of this beautiful landscape. So my vision for the future is that that balance of people enjoying the place, respecting the place, that all of it continues. And it's going to get tougher every year, but every year we have more and more people who really care and want to do something to protect this. And that's what we have to count on.